Hello, this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. I'm happy to be speaking with Bill Kavanaugh, head coach of the Bentley University Falcons football team. Coach Kavanaugh, thank you so much again for taking some time out to speak with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Okay, Coach, week one, I said under your belt, it's an impressive 41-17 win over Westchester. I guess that we can just get right into it. That was an impressive performance. I was looking at some of the stats. I think 440 yards on total offense, 300 yards rushing, led by your quarterback, senior quarterback Steven, Sturm. 140 yards passing, 72 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. And also defensively, you said, a number of guys contributed as well. I guess we can just talk about how good it felt to get back on the football field and, definitely with a regular season game here, Coach.
Yeah, 657 days off. And our kids came out there and you could get a lot of different things. What our kids came out and showed was how excited they were to play, how fast they were able to play. And really, we knew that there would be some hiccups and some growing pains in a first game of the year. But we kind of saw that on steroids a little bit. It had been so long for us where, simple communication and simple substitution stuff we were very concerned with. And, when the bullets got flying, we had to sort through a couple of things, but our kids have been so nimble throughout this entire time. They were just excited to be on the field. They showed that they wanted to be there with their friends, and they played fast as heck and, fearless. And that's what led us to success.
I don't want to forget also junior running back Nathaniel Larkins, 149 yards rushing TD. Wide receiver, junior Tajon Vassar, 53 yards at TD. And then on defensively, of course, from Ripple High School here in Franklin Lakes, Bergen County, New Jersey, Jack Scordato, I said, with interception. And linebackers, junior linebackers, Salvatore Lupoli Jr. and Cole McCoubry with Salvatore with 11 tackles and Cole with 10 tackles. So if you can talk, about a couple of those players as well and their, the way they were able to contribute to this victory.
What was nice about the victory was the fact that it was the success and the performance was kind of spread out. Yeah. You're going to be led by your quarterback, and it was a balanced leadership. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground and 2 touchdowns in the air. That's nice. We set the tone offensively. We were able to get them blocked. We have an experienced offensive line, and we have a couple running backs who really can make things happen with the ball in their hands, especially with a little bit of space. And from there, we were able to, kind of pick and spread the ball around to what we think we have some really, really, really big time playmakers. And some of them were able to show their ability. And then on the defensive side of the ball, it was really clear on film that we played fast. We played aggressively. Our kids play sideline to sideline. All right. And the 2 inside linebackers there proved exactly that. We got great play out of our defensive front. And then we were very opportunistic when they had to put the ball in the air, especially in the red area where Jack Scordato, again, for Ramapo, was able to come down with a big time interception still early in the game to turn things the other way. Our kids were opportunistic, but really it was how they played, and that was fast and fearless, and it was good to see, and we're expecting more of that this week.
That's terrific. Hey, I wanted to ask you, you taught an experienced group, Coach Kavanaugh. I think I was counting, 40 upperclassmen, if I'm not correct. But talk about your captains. You have a junior in Jillian Branch, but then the rest are upper class. You have senior CD, Dashiell second, Tim Leonard, Austin Ryan, of course, Jack Scordato, and then Steven Sturm. So can you talk about, those players, it said, and just that, process, just having those guys, as far as the leadership of this team?
Well, college football really everywhere. It's pretty interesting. I know that the big time, played last fall, but everybody got a year back. So really what you have on your rosters right now is either guys with a ton of experience and guys with none. So we have 2 senior classes, but we also have 2 freshman classes. So that balance is been what we've really been working to try to, figure out throughout that time. This was a year for us where, we had 3 of our 6 captains were kids who came back for a 5th year. Jack Scordato is graduated and he's getting his master's degree this year.
Oh, that's great.
Okay. And Steven Sturm and Tim Leonard, both of those guys are also 5th year players. And then, Jalen Branch is another captain for us who he's already determined that he'll come back for grad school next year. So he's been around for 4 years. Okay. Seti Dashil will most likely do the same thing, but he is in his 4th year as well. And Austin Ryan, who's a receiver for us, who will be back this week, is another kid who's a 5th year kid. So 4 of those guys, 5th year guys, and 2 of them actually 4th year guys.
Okay, it's great. Just in terms of the schedule, I know you're busy preparing Coach Kavanaugh for at Assumption, this weekend, on Saturday, September 11th. And, I've talked to other coaches, again, a very significant day, of course, in American history, solemn day with, of course, the terrorist attacks, now on the 20th, year. I mean, can you just talk about, you have a game to play, but there's so much more that, is going to be on people's minds that day as well. If you can just talk about that, Coach Kavanaugh.
Yeah, it's really interesting for me because 20 years ago, I was actually a student athlete here at Bentley, and remember that day very, very vividly. Remember close friend from in Bergen County who could not find her brother. That sticks, in my mind really every day, what those first few days really felt like after September 11th. And, again, it's been a difficult time. Our kids have been very resilient. But we were just talking in our team meeting, and I led the team meeting off. We're sitting in here together preparing to play football. And because we're indoors and the colleges have certain protocols that we're following, we're wearing masks. And it's really not that difficult to get your mask from over your mouth to over your mouth and nose. And, while that might be maybe inconvenient, I was thinking back to 20 years ago to the week where there's a lot worse things that we could be going through, than having a football team preparing to play a game that, when we sit in a meeting room together, we got to wear masks. And it's shocking to me too. It makes me feel really old that, some of our kids weren't born yet. And I think that for us as coaches to take a minute to really teach about what that was like, and there aren't too many real historic events in our country or world's history that I personally experienced in real life. And this is one of them. So it was an opportunity for us to speak to our kids and to remind them how lucky we are to be together.
That's true. I agree. I know it said following this, it said the home opener, it said against Stonehill. Those are always special, Coach Kavanaugh. I had to ask you, it said, I know your main focus, of course, is this weekend, but, looking ahead to that, I'm sure that again, for the players, for the coaching staff, for everyone involved, said there at, Bentley University, that's definitely going to be a great day, said on September 18th there.
Yeah, and we've been lucky. So we go to Assumption this week, and we are looking forward to that game against a great opponent who has been really, really strong in this conference with another strong football team. They have great skill on both sides of the ball, and very big, strong offensive line. So we're looking forward to that Assumption game, to go out there and, just prove to ourselves that we can play fast and fearless, 2 weeks in a row. And Stonehill and Assumption are very similar in the sense that these schools, we're 40 minutes from both of those places.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been playing in the same conference for a long time. Great respect for both the programs, but when we get together, it's usually really good crowds. Our alumni bases are close to each other, and people come out. This week at Assumption, no fans are allowed.
No,
So
okay.
that will be unique.
Yeah.
Right. Next week, we'll be able to have fans for our alumni weekend, which I think will be a really cool experience. But two teams that we have great respect for, programs that we have great respect for, and I think the environment will be different at both. But I know the players at both Assumption and Bentley will be ready to play, and there'll be enough juice on that field to take care of any fans who would be there.
Yeah. If I'm correct, I was looking at the schedule, Coach Kavanaugh, that at the end of the season, the final game of the regular season, that you're going to be playing Assumption again on November 13th. Is that correct?
Correct. Our conference, we lost a couple teams over the last couple of years to Division I, and Division II, you really want in-region games. And like our conference, the in-region teams are kind of maxed out and only have one date for non-league games in week 1. So essentially this week versus Assumption is a non-league game, but it's an in-region game for NCAA purposes.
Okay. I said, first time interviewing a Division II, head coach, I wanted to ask you, you've been around, as I said, Division II, past 20 years. So you played at Bentley. You graduated from the school. Talk about the Northeast 10 Conference and the brand of Division II football for give everybody the inside scoop and behind the scenes, Coach Kavanaugh.
Yeah, the Northeast 10 Conference, the football has improved drastically since 20 years ago when I was here. Really originated as a basketball conference, and it was a lot of schools that were playing Division III football. And NCAA kind of came up with some rules. I was like, you got to choose what you're going to do. And our schools got together and said, well, we want to be a Division II school across the board. It took us some time. There was, a solid amount of time where it was hard for us to compete even in the region. Our closest conference is the Pennsylvania Athletic Conference, with Westchester, who we played, or Kutztown, who Assumption played, Bloomsburg, who Stonehill played this past week. And it was hard for our conference to compete because we were climbing to the Division II level. But quite honestly, thanks to, we played in the Division II playoffs at Bentley when I was here in 2003 and after I left in 2004. But over the last 10 years or so, our conference has been able to win some games right there at Assumption College or Assumption University. Now it's been able to win some games in the playoffs, and our entire conference has improved the level of football player that we get. Our place is academically honestly the best academic school in Division II, and I can say that proudly. We find student athletes here with their priorities right, and to find that balance of a kid is a unique thing. I compare us not really to the Ivy League or to the Patriot League as much, because generally the Ivy League and the Patriot League are playing against like student athletes, where everybody in the Ivy League is a top tier student, where with us, I compare us a little bit more to the Northwestern, Duke, Stanford, of the, big time college football, because our kids have a slightly different academic load than some of the schools we compete against, and they also get great opportunities when they leave here.
It's wonderful. before we come in the air, talking about the state of New Jersey, I think you have 12 players from the Garden State on your roster. And mentioned, of course, Jack Scordato from Rand Paul High School. Just looking at the roster, just viewing it, seeing how there are players, of course, from the Northeast, you have New Jersey, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, but also then you have Michigan and Florida as well. You have players from there. I had to ask you about that, just with the recruiting, process. And then, of course, here in Bergen County, I said throughout the state of New Jersey, but with Bergen, you have players from public schools, and then you also have the privates and non-publics. We talked about, as I said, Bergen Catholic, Don Bosco, St. Joe's, Seton Hall Prep. If you can just dive into that, Coach Kavanaugh.
Yeah, we really see North Jersey as, as close to us as Massachusetts from a football perspective. Mm-hmm. I think that, past the attention that obviously Bergen County's getting from Division I schools, there aren't a ton of options close by, from an academic college deal. And Bentley has a lot of New Jersey kids, here without football. So we really see North Jersey as a place that we focus on. We want those kids. We have good relationships with those coaches, and we want to continue to grow that. I mean, I think you as we talked about it, and off the top of my head, I won't get this great, but we got somebody from Bergen, somebody from Bosco, obviously Ramapo, Seton Hall, and Bentley attracts the right kids. You look at those kids that, we're attracting from down there. Even I know that Andrew Brzezicki from down on the shore, his school changed names, but he was at Bishop R. And like, these guys are rock star student athletes, man. Like, these guys aren't just like your run of the mill type of kid. Mm-hmm. Jack Scordato is going to leave here with an MBA, and he's doing it the right way. We got some younger guys. Quinn Nyland, you talked about Seton Hall, but Jake Tarantino, who came up here, awesome student athlete from Don Bosco, very good athlete. We moved him out to receiver. He plays on special teams for us. He is a great kid with a great future ahead of him. Quinn Nyland will graduate here coming up, and we feel like we recruit the right student athlete from North Jersey, and we feel like we attract them. So it's a nice thing when coaches from down there, tell a kid, hey, you got to look at Bentley. Like, as you're looking at these Division I, 1AA type of schools, and you are a true student athlete, that Bentley is very close to that. And we've been able to get what I think are Division I kids, whether it be Jack Scordato or Rene Nunez from Bergen Catholic, we think those guys are Division I kids that we're lucky enough to have on our roster.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hey, I don't want to forget about your coaching staff, Coach Kavanaugh. Yeah. Let's start with your assistant head coach, offensive line coach, Bill Samko. You have also your offensive coordinator, Keith Levan, defensive coordinator, Alvin Reynolds, defensive line coach, Danny Maines, linebackers coach, Derek Getchell, wide receivers coach, Tariq Allen, and tight ends and operations coordinator, Connor Knight. If you could just talk about it, I mean, how much, they play, essential role, with the program.
Well, especially with COVID now, I'm basically the COVID coach, and, those guys do the brunt of the work, from a football perspective. And gosh, am I lucky to have those guys doing it. When you talk about who we have, I mean, Coach Samko, just on the offensive side of the ball, Coach Samko was a head coach for over 20 years. Coach Samko's got experience at some of the best, academic schools in the country that have had great success on the field. When you go from Tufts to Yale to the University of the South Sewanee, back to Tufts and Holy Cross, I mean, in 20 of those years, our head coach, he brings great stability to our entire program, and an awesome experience. And Coach Levan has been here on the offensive side of the ball for me for, I guess we've played 7 years, so 6 out of 7 years. He's been with me, and way back when I first took over here, I ran the offense and Coach worked with me, and pretty quickly I realized, like, man, I got a diamond here, and I wanted to feed him, and got it rolling where he took over the offense. And since he's taken over the offense, he's done an unbelievable job, and luckily he's been able to work with Steven for the last couple of years together, and watch the offense grow between Coach Samko, Coach Levan, and Steven, and some of the guys who have been around here, which has been awesome. But great experience. Obviously Tariq is new with us, but has brought a level of expectation for our receiver core, whether it be in how they practice, and what they do on game day. That has been awesome to see, throughout the last 5 weeks. Tariq's been with us a long time, but geez, he's finally getting these guys to get on the field, which has been awesome. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Coach Maines has been with us. I think I always cut him short because he's young, but I think it's 6 years or so. And Coach Reynolds 4 years. And Coach Reynolds, another guy with some great experience, 20 years in the NFL. My biggest problem with Coach Reynolds is every preseason he's got to show up a day late, or a couple hours late, because he's flying back in from Canton, Ohio, because another guy he coached is going to the NFL Hall of Fame. It's like, geez, that's the type of coach that we have there. But Coach Maines has been with our D-line, started with our outside linebackers, has really turned some of those guys into really good players. And the defense under Coach Reynolds has been really fun to watch over the last year or so, since he took on, a different role as the coordinator. And Coach Getchell has picked up with the inside linebackers. Again, he's been here for, since February of 2020, but finally got to coach in his first game with us last week. And, I got a small staff, but these guys are good at what they do, and nothing more than looking out for their players and taking care of them and guiding them as we should as college football coaches.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Hey, I almost forgot to ask you, this past year, especially after, we're still, of course, in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic, but what this past year has been, really for you, the rest of the coaching staff and the players. And then it said to get back out here in 2021 on the field, and it said prepare for this, it said season. I just had to ask you about that, Coach Kavanaugh.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. I think that, when you go back to the start of the pandemic, there was a lot of things going on in our country, almost, alongside, obviously, the pandemic, and for those things to be going on and for our players to not be able to be together was a difficult combination. And, really throughout the spring of 2020, we were focused on our guys and just how to connect with them and how to ensure that they were, in a decent space mentally, and able to share anything that they needed. We transitioned, pretty quickly. I think it was July, we knew we weren't going to play. So there was a, kind of air taken out of your sails a little bit. And our kids got back to campus in the fall. They did what the school asked of them. And then we slowly got to get, basically from last fall to this fall, it's been a slow, incremental, increase in how much we've been able to be together, how close we've been able to be with each other, how much we've been able to do in the weight room, how often we've been able to be in the meeting room, and things like that. And sometimes it's not just a steady rise. There's some bumps in the way but our kids, they just roll with the punches. And we try to communicate the best we can with them. But COVID, that's one thing that COVID has done. I mean, when you look at it, the leadership of whether it be country, state, school, like nobody's ever been through this before.
Yeah.
And, some things are coming out last minute and some things are, changing on the fly. And once we all realize that that's just the way it's going to go, and we're lucky to be together when we can be together, we've been able to grow together. And it's fun to have had that amount of time off and already felt a little bit of success here. But, we talked about each game we play, basically feeling just as long as these 600 days off that we've had, because there's so many ups and downs in a football game. And we really believe that when we stay together and we take care of each other, then we have the ability to persevere together.
Yeah, no, definitely. Can you just talk about just the week, practice and leading up to game day, and said for the players, putting on the pads, the uniform, and then of course you and the coaching staff with the X's and O's, and just that moment, you're in the locker room, and then of course taking that field. I said last Saturday at Westchester, just what that can you? I mean, it just must have been just awesome. It just must have been so much exuberation and just adrenaline as far as that moment.
To be honest, it really was, and we almost practiced those feelings throughout preseason camp, because there's a heck of a lot there. And when we talked pregame on Friday evening, there were a lot of our brothers here who never got to choose their last game. So we left 2019 season, and we had 25 or so seniors that graduated and knew they were playing in their last game. But there was half of the senior class of 2020. I mean, you got to realize what type of academic school that we have. And some kids couldn't give up the job they'd already been offered. When you're talking about 6 digits walking out of college, and, it's pretty hard to turn that down. And we had some kids that really, really wanted to be on this football team with us. But, unfortunately, the real world was calling them. Yeah. And we had plenty who were able to make it work to get back, whether they decided to come back for a graduate degree or figure something else out from an academic perspective and internships and so on and so forth. But, there were a lot of feelings. And, I thought that our kids were able to go out there and recognize the situation and realize that we are going to make mistakes, but we're going to have fun doing it, and we're going to be together. So we have a unique setup here, and that one of the reasons we do is because of the education that our players receive is truly second to none. But what we do, we practice in the morning. So we're talking here in the afternoon, and our practice is long over for the day. Our kids come in the morning. It's when they're freshest, really, and they haven't been worn down by the academic day. And we also feel like athletically, we can pick them up for the day academically. So our kids get into the building about 7 o'clock, and we're on the practice field for 7:55 each morning. And all of our guys roll through practice, and then we don't go to class until 11. So just like anybody who gets a great workout in the morning and you're kind of fueled for your day, our kids are doing that every day, and they're not taking a nap before practice, so on and so forth. They're rolling into their day, they're rolling into their classwork, and they're able to get their job done and hopefully get to bed at a decent hour, because we haven't put football right in the middle of their day, as is, somewhat regular in college. You call it 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon practice. And so you've got the class in the morning. Some kids have night class at night, and then you got to get your homework done. Shoot, that travels on past midnight. And our kids feel like with this schedule, they can get their football work done. They can get to bed at night, and we have a lot of consistency with our program. So, again, we have great kids, and I listen a lot to our kids because they're really special, and we want what's best for them.
Yeah, it's a good structure. Really, keeps them on the go. had to ask you, I think this is your 8th year as the head coach, at Bentley University. I'm just wondering when, you think back to that first year, you took over the head coaching reins, to see where, it said how this football program has progressed. I mean, 2 years ago, 2 years removed from being the Northeast 10 Conference Coach of the Year, winning a conference championship, ending that season on a 5-game winning streak. It's got to be a great feeling. And the fact that, again, you graduated from the college, co-captain of that 2003 team that, made the NCAA tournament, first ever in program history. Can you just talk about this ride here, Coach Kavanaugh?
Yeah, well, I obviously, as you said, I graduated from Bentley, and I have a heck of a lot of pride, in the university and in the football program. And when I was contacted about coming back, I was inspired because I know what Bentley has to offer. I know what Bentley is capable of, and I really wanted to bring that back. I actually am very close with every head coach in the history of Bentley's varsity program because Coach Yetten was here for 30 plus years, and who I played for. I think he is one of the top 5 winningest coaches in Division II history. And Coach Borman, who worked for him and then took over the reins after Coach Yetten retired, was an assistant at that time. And Bentley had some success, obviously, in our years playing, in the early 2000s. But what I saw was an opportunity to get back to that place. It was an opportunity for the university to really decide that, hey, we want to see football be successful. And I was proud to be able to come back there. And I knew it was going to take a little bit of time because, quite honestly, it is difficult to find the fit here because we are such a strong academic school and we have to compete at such a high level athletically. It was going to take us a little bit of time to make sure that we were getting the exact right kid that we need to be successful. And we feel like, especially over the last 5 years, we've been able to do that. It's all about the people. We have great assistant coaches who are finding kids that can do the work here, that can make the most out of the opportunity here, to be able to go out and perform on the field. And it's really fun to watch them every weekend.
Yeah, I won't forget about that 2017 season. I was reading up, you knocked off 2 top 20 teams. I mean, that was tremendous. You talked about the support. I mean, administration, athletic department. Don't want to forget about director of athletics, Vaughn Williams, and then President Brent Craig. Can you just talk about them as well, Coach Kavanaugh?
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be here because of those 2 gentlemen. And honestly, we're getting to know each other just a little bit. You go back to 2017, we did have a taste of success. We had, these guys who are leading our football program right now were young bucks. But we were able to go down in the end of the year and beat a really good Assumption team who, went on and won a bunch of games in the playoffs there. But we weren't ready to be that team. We didn't have the depth to be that team at the time. And, we've been growing to hopefully, at some point be that type of a football team and that type of a football program. And again, I really believe that we have the right people here and our leadership, is primed for us to be successful because both Vaughn and Dr. Creit, they're people, and they care about the people and they care about how they support our student athletes. They care about how they support all of our students. Yeah. And, it hasn't been, 2, 3, 4 years. Dr. Kreit's only been here for a few months. Vaughn's, working on his first year here. So, we're working with them to really understand how they're going to lead, Dr. Creit, the school, and Vaughn, the athletic department. But I know that I trust the individuals. I trust the people to take care of our student athletes and to give us every opportunity to do what's best for them. And I'm looking forward to the future.
It's wonderful. Hey, great screenshot behind you. I believe that's of Bentley University football field. Can you talk about the facilities at Bentley University and even I've asked a number of coaches, strength and conditioning, play a pivotal role as well in the success of a football program, Coach Kavanaugh.
Yeah. Well, yes, behind me, you can't see our field. It's awesome. We're in, the suburbs of Boston and Waltham here. And, it's a pretty tight field, which we really like. I mean, it was pretty packed last Friday. I know next Saturday will be even more so.
Yeah.
But that field, you see, our fields are, let me just get out of the way there.
Yeah.
Our fields, whether it be football or other sports, we've got, football, and kind of back underneath this field is a beautiful field hockey and lacrosse field. And we have grass fields for baseball and soccer down the way. So one of the things that's nice for us is, we have great access to our fields in the outdoor, set. And currently right now, they're just finishing up construction to our varsity weight room, which has been totally revamped under our new strength coach, Josh Mangan, who's done a tremendous job for us since January of last year. And his support staff has really changed not only, the way we do things from a physical perspective and in the weight room, but really culturally. But this new weight room setup is going to allow for him to do some of the things that, he's setting out to do with his staff, but also just get the guys in there, get more guys in there. We heading in for 40 yards of turf in our weight room, and we've got our 10 platforms, and the guys can really, in big groups, have fun getting after it, which is always fun to see for the guys.
It's great. I want to skip, it said your success on the football field at Bentley, so you definitely dominated. It said 20 years ago. Can you talk about your time? It said with Sachs, I think you were up there definitely. It said just what those times were, it said being, playing, it said for Bentley University. And in addition, what you want, that Falcons jersey and that helmet, to represent as well, Coach Kavanaugh.
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough as I played to play on some really good football teams.
Yeah.
So you can, maybe get some statistics as a defensive lineman when we're playing with a lead and somebody's got to pass. And we had, a tremendous offense in my time that we were there. And, to be quite honest with you, my senior year, in junior year, we kind of played with the same defensive line, but we had a great group of guys. So, some of the best football players I played with were on that deal, and I'd be, putting two men on Tom Strickland or Teddy Krautman before I'd block me with two. Most definitely was able to, just do my job. I tell our guys all the time, we talk about it, is like, I only had one redeeming quality as a football player, and it was toughness. I tried hard, and I played on a good team, and tried to do my best for them. We had really good players on that football team, and throughout that time. And, that's why I came back here. That's why I came, because this place has a ton of potential, and I wanted to see Bentley reach its potential on the football field with the right kids. And we've got them, and we're continuing to get them, and I'm looking forward to continuing to build it, with this coaching staff and with this group of players.
It's great. Just have a couple more. Ken, thank you for the time, Coach Kavanaugh. I don't want to forget, before you, came back to Bentley University, took over as head coach. You worked 6 years, at Penn State University, under, head coaches, Bill O'Brien, legendary Joe Paterno. Said, director of player personnel. It said you were a recruiting coordinator, a wide receivers coach, and a graduate assistant coach. I mean, when I looked at how many responsibilities you had as director of player personnel, I mean, can you just talk about your time there at Penn State?
Yeah, it's Penn State was filled with so many good times with such, really great people. And obviously I was there, in a difficult time as well. And I learned a lot from both head coaches I worked for, Coach Paterno, for sure, and Coach O'Brien, who, really was able to take me under his wing a little bit and support me and allow me to grow as a, football coach and, in this profession. So, there were awesome kids at that place too, which, it has always stuck with me. We were in some difficult times that was, it had absolutely nothing to do with those players, and to see their toughness and perseverance is something, I've got a picture on my wall right over here of Mike Motti and Jordan Hill, because I look up to those kids, and how they persevere and how they show up every single day, and are still doing it. So, those guys are great guys. And yeah, my Penn State experience was great because it was surrounded by some awesome people.
It's great. Don't want to forget also you coach defensive line at Stonehill College as well. And what's even more special, Coach, is that you began your coaching career, of course, working alongside, say with your father, Bill Kavanaugh, senior at UMass Dartmouth. So can you talk about, you worked, said with the linebackers and special teams there at UMass Dartmouth?
Yeah. So I think as I was wrapping up my college career, it was kind of interesting. Bentley is a business school, and I was kind of moving towards the family business, which is coaching, and I was able to start it with my dad, which was fun. And actually when I came back and took over here at Bentley, it's not super close to home, but my dad was coming up 3-4 days a week, and just able to be a sounding board for me back here. And, essentially, roles reversed a little bit, which was pretty fun. My dad had been retired, and I just wanted to make sure that I was doing what was right and what was best for our players. So he had great success in his time at UMass Dartmouth, and I was there for a while, and then ended up going to Stonehill for a year with then Coach Rob Talley, who was a great mentor, still is, and somebody I have a heck of a lot of respect for.
It's great. Hey, just the last couple for you, not only as a player but now as a head coach. What makes the game of football so special, for you, Coach Kavanaugh?
Yeah, without a question of a doubt, it's the people. As I outside my door, a couple steps from here is, our players area, and I can hear those guys, hanging out, having fun, playing some video games out there, and it's just being around the kids. So when I can open my door and see those guys, I have 3 daughters and 96 sons. So it's fun to be around the kids.
Yeah. Great segue to family, because you talked about your father, but as you said, you have 3 daughters, and I believe a daughter who was just born before the season, your wife, Kristen.
Yep.
I've talked to many coaches. This profession is not for the faint of heart. It's a very demanding, profession, long hours spent in the office, of course, on the field. You have to be fully committed to it. Can you talk about how much, they've meant to you, along this journey, and just, yeah.
Yeah. My wife, Kristen, picked up and moved out to Pennsylvania. Oh gosh, that was a bunch of years ago now. And we've been in this thing together, since then. And man, the commitment out of wives and mothers of football coaches is, it should never go understated. But, Kristen's been there, and she's been supportive. Luckily, she loves the sport of football, and she's as intense watching the sport of football as anybody. But she's doing it. She's doing it with kids at her feet and getting them here, and going to field hockey and soccer practice and racing to a football game, and walking the dog in between. And now we've got a third baby, which was Kristen gave birth in preseason this year. So
Beautiful.
it's been a wild time, but luckily we have somebody pretty strong running the point at home, who's been able to take it and allow me to, go do what I enjoy doing, which I'm extremely thankful for.
That's fabulous. Hey, Coach Kavanaugh, final question. Always ask, coaches this in the end, what your message, your advice is, not only for the younger kids or athletes out there, but then as well as people who want to break into the coaching ranks. I think it's just such an important topic, especially these days.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to high school athletes first.
Yeah.
The thing that is most important as you're embarking on potentially a college football career or college athletics and, any sport is making sure that you're doing it for you and making sure that you know what you want, right? And, what I mean by that is, parents are very involved in sports and parents want to, get their kids to, school and want to celebrate their kids because they love them. But as a student athlete, you are expected to do a whole heck of a lot in football, more than any of them. And if you don't have your whole heart in it, then it's really, really difficult to be successful. And then finding the right place for you. And again, your whole heart can't be in it if you're not in the right place for you. And you need to choose that place based off of your feelings and what your desires are, not anybody else. And, again, just making sure that your college search and your, recruiting is not around, revolving around social media, and it's really revolving around, deep inside yourself and understanding what you want and where you want to be so you can go out and perform both academically and athletically. And then from, the perspective of somebody trying to get into the coaching profession, it's not easy. And you should expect a long, arduous, step-by-step career. There aren't too many guys who just make it quick. They got to grind and they got to, they got to be willing to put the work in. The thing that I really focused on, and I was lucky enough to coach in front of 108,000 people at Penn State, but that's not really why I got into it. I got into it to be around the kids in a game that I loved. And, when opportunities came, I chose to play in front of 3,000 instead of, 103,000, when it came time for taking this job here. And I think that's because this is an environment that I really like. With that said, is like finding the right place. And if you're going into coaching only to coach at, for the New York Giants, you're gonna have a long way before you got to do it. Goals are great, but understanding why you're doing something is hugely important, and making sure that you're enjoying it all along the way.
Well said. Okay, Coach Kavanaugh, the floor is yours. If I've left anything out, you're more than welcome to add here.
Well, I really appreciate the time. I appreciate, getting to reach out around, Bergen County and beyond, because it's a place for us that we've been able to have some really, really good football players, over my career here. And geez, as long as I've been coaching, there have been some awesome players to come out of that area and awesome people to come out of that area. So I'm really glad to be able to be on here and talk with you. And again, we're looking forward to next week at Assumption University and getting rolling and getting our kids playing fast, physical, fearless. And hopefully you see a lot of that this season from us.
Sounds good. Coach Kavanaugh, just an incredible honor and privilege, interviewing you. Thank you again. Wishing you, the rest of the coaching staff and the players at Bentley University all the best here in the 2021 regular season.
Thank you very much. All the best to you, and stay safe.
Thank you.